funny how we locate moments in our lives by certain songs. I can remember the bump on the sidewalk on my walk to high school, where I first heard I Got You, Babe, and I had my transistor radio, and that song came on for the first time.
I don't remember when I Got You, Babe wasn't popular. Just like Groundhog Day, the beginning of each one of those scenes where Bill Murray's sleeping and the alarm goes off and it's like every day was like that for years, it seemed. You know, so I really related to that whole feeling of that being the soundtrack of what we were up to.
I got you, babe. It's choosing. She's making choices. I got you.
I knew what Sonny sounded like, and I knew what Cher sounded like. That nasal sound she had, which we all, laugh about to this day.
It's almost like their voices don't go together, but they did. Somehow they made that work.
When I Got You, Babe was released, it became an overnight phenomenon. It just went right straight to the top. And then they released all the stuff they had released before, didn't go anywhere, and we had like 5 records on the top 5.
When we got back to America, there were like 5,000 kids waiting at the airport, and then the first thing we did was the Ed Sullivan Show. People thought we were ridiculous, but we really thought we looked beautiful and took a lot of pride in our clothes.
They used to wear these god-awful, horrible outfits. I think they like some kind of fur vest and Cher with the help us, Lord, help us out here.
You ever try to analyze it yourself?
No, I haven't. He has, but it's too hard for me to figure out.
Sonny, what do you think?
I think it's a combination of things. I think timing, of course, is very important. And then the fact that we're a married couple has a big bearing on our success because all our fan mail, kids are very happy that we're married and that we love each other.
There was just one problem. Sonny and Cher weren't really married. They had performed an impromptu wedding ceremony in their bathroom, but they didn't legalize their marriage until 1968. Fortunately, no one had caught on to their little deception.
And I had never heard of our next guest. In fact, very few people had ever heard of Mr. and Mrs. Salvador Bono. But now, all of a sudden, they have 5 big hits, records in the top 50. And it looks like that the Bonos are going to be around for a long, long time. Of course, you probably know them much better by their first names, Sonny and Cher.
Sonny and Cher were sort of like the flavor of the year in the mid-60s. I mean, they were a couple. They dressed mod. They were sort of unthreatening. When they began to rise in the charts, they'd be fair game for all the variety shows on TV, but especially the ones the kids were watching.
But Sonny and Cher were about to discover that kids could be fickle, and their good times would soon be at an end. In the mid-60s, Sonny and Cher were hot, especially Cher.
You know, like chick in these tight pants, you know, just an exotic look. And she was, you know, she was sort of captivating at the time. She was very charismatic, very quiet and mysterious.
As far as Sonny was concerned, I was like his complete creation, so he took great delight in everything that I did.
He was this short, well, Italian guy that had this kind of goofy look on his face that wasn't really taken seriously, but he could parlay himself into anything he wanted.
By 1967, what he wanted was to turn Sonny and Cher into movie stars. So they went out and made a film called Good Times. Unfortunately, there was nothing good about it.
The most interesting thing about Good Times, besides the late groovy 60s look, is the fact that it was directed by William Friedkin, who would go on to direct The Exorcist.
Billy Friedkin and Sonny, they would get together every night, and they would talk, and they would just bullshit each other back and forth, and I just said, you guys are so stupid, and I'm not involved in this, and I'm not going to get involved in this, so that's what they started writing the movie about.
Now, you let me hip you on what's happening. Sonny and Cher, the leaders, are making their first movie. It's called Good Times. And the idea of the picture is to spoof Hollywood movies. You know, put them on.
They essentially played themselves and lampooned various movie styles.
Anyway, like I started to say, this here flick is like the real story of Sonny and Cher. It's about a married couple, which they are, who are singing stars with millions of fans.
There are many musicians who try to cross over into movies. Almost all of them fail.
I wasn't very comfortable, I must say, and it was a huge flop.
Sonny remained determined, and the next result was a self-financed project for Cher in 1969.
Chastity was Sonny's attempt to make Cher into a movie diva that sort of bombed notoriously.
My name's Chastity. That's not really my name. Well, I guess that's my name now.
She plays this nasty young woman who is hitchhiking across the country and ends up at one point in a Mexican bordello.
Here, stick your head in this basin. Well, you don't want me to make love to a dirty man, do you?
Sonny edited, he directed, he did everything to the thing. Then he wouldn't listen to anybody. They tried to tell him, you got to have continuity, it's got to flow. And he said, no, it's my picture. I'm going to do it the way I want it. It was just a mess. And the only success it had was naming their first child Chastity.
Chastity Bono was born in March of 1969 to the now legally married Mr. and Mrs. Sonny Bono, the now broke Mr. and Mrs. Sonny Bono, whose failed movie had cost them considerably. Even worse, American kids who had previously bought into the couple's hip act now thought of them as square.
She and I went out to dinner, and I remember someone famous came over to our table and literally laid lines of coke on the table, and Cher was just appalled.
They fell out of favor when they put down smoking pot, smoking dope. I don't know whether the kids got mad at them or whatever. That's when we decided that they had to change their image and go more towards the grown-up people.
We'd gone from like everything we did was, you know, a miracle to all of a sudden having nothing. And then Sonny said, we owe the government $270-something thousand, and we have to go out on the road, but if you give me 2 years, I promise we'll be back on top.